Finally, making the video, sharing with you guys my powerlifting meet experience and the tips I have for you guys if you're about to do your first powerlifting meet. So before I did my first meet, I did a lot of research and I asked people, what should you do? What tips would you give me? And I've compiled all of those, got them right here. So you guys don't have to do all the research I did. Just watch this video and I'll cover all of the bases for you. So these tips are in no particular order, but the first one I have down is don't worry too much about peaking, but definitely change your training style leading up to the meet. So what I mean by that is alter your training, but don't worry too much about altering it. Don't do a bunch of research and stress out about doing the right thing. What I followed was pretty basic. I found out about my meet late, so I didn't have as much time as some would to prepare for the meet. But what I did was 3 weeks out from the meet, I went ahead and I tested basically I just tried to find my max. So what I did was I just tested each lift and went as high as I could until either right before I failed or until I failed, and figured out my maxes from that. Then the next week I figured out my second attempt, and then the last week I did some work with my first attempt, and you can see all of that in the previous videos of my training for the powerlifting meet. The second tip I have done here is don't worry about your weight class. And I read this one, but I didn't really follow it. I was stressed about staying in that 181 weight class, but it turns out I shouldn't have even stressed about that, because if I let my weight continue to climb and I was above 181, I would have actually got a medal at my last meet. So just learn from me, don't worry about too much about your weight class. Eat sufficiently, don't stress it, it's not worth it. Just be whatever weight you are, be whatever weight class you're in. The next tip I have would be the Carb Up the day before the meet. This is great advice in my opinion. I felt so good the day of the meet because I went ahead and I ate a good amount of carbs. And you can also see that on a previous video I have up on the channel. I ate about twice as many carbs as I usually do. I would say aim for that. Go a little higher if you can. You want to have that energy stored, so even if maybe you're nervous and you don't eat as much in the morning as you normally would or whatever, you already have that energy stored in you and you'll be good to go. You'll feel great for the meet. So do that. Next tip, try to bring someone with you to the meet that you work out with, or someone who's just a really helpful person. Now the reason why I say this is because you're already going to be sort of uncomfortable, new environment, something you've never done before. So if you have someone with you that you train with, that's already just going to help you out mentally. And then also, they'll be able to help you with different things when you do your first attempt, let's say, and we'll go over a tip for that. But once you do it, maybe, or even after you finish your second attempt, maybe you'll say, wow, that was really easy. I think I can hit a brand new PR. Maybe I can go for something crazy on the third attempt. You can talk to that with your training partner. Or maybe if the second attempt wasn't so good, and you can talk, you can have these discussions with the training partner. Now, if you don't have someone like that can be there at the meet with you, I suggest just going with somebody who is helpful, who will help you carry your stuff, who will, remind you to maybe eat something if you're just psyched out, will calm you down, will just be there to support you. That's really good to have. The next tip is to research the federation and be aware of all the commands and all of the rules of that federation before you arrive. So I will do this weeks in advance. Make sure you know what the commands are going to be like. They will go over all of this before the meet, but it's best if you already know before you go in there, so you're not worrying about different stuff. Know already if your heels need to be on the ground for that federation, if your head needs to be touching the bench, things like this. Make sure you're clear on the commands. Make sure you know what depth is required. From where I was at, it was hip. The crease at your hip below the knee, that was the required depth. So know all of that and be aware. The next thing, bring amino acids, pre-workouts, and quick carb sources like candy, Gatorade, maybe even Pop-Tarts to the meet with you. A bunch of water. I wouldn't bring anything too fatty because that might make you feel sick. It does for a lot of people. And don't bring anything to eat that you're not used to eating, especially not used to eating around working out. So I had a big bag of candy and I ate basically the whole thing there. I forgot my Gatorade, but I had a gallon jug of water. I put 2 scoops of pre-workout in there and 2 scoops of BCAAs in there, and it worked out great for me. My meet wasn't that long though, so plan it accordingly. If you need to bring an actual lunch, I didn't need to. You might want to do that. things like that. Be prepared for a long duration of time. Usually powerlifting meets take all day, especially if it's a larger kind. This is a good one. Perfect your warm-up in the weeks leading to the meet. Know exactly what you need to do to warm up sufficiently without wasting time. This is important. So that last week before the meet, I really focused on my warm-up routine. You might go in the gym and you do a warm-up, and maybe it's different every time. You don't want to be guessing when it comes to the day of the meet. You want to know exactly, okay, what is the minimal I need to do to warm up right, but then also to not waste any time. This way, you don't hinder other people from warming up that may be stronger than you, and you also get to do your full warm-up. You don't have to go out there and do an attempt before you're actually ready. So, you know, people there will be helpful. They'll help you. They'll take turns. You don't have to worry about that. Don't be shy about that. Just make sure you know what you're doing. You're not fooling around. I don't know what weight to use next. Know your transition, and then don't warm up with your opener. Always stay below your opener. Leave that weight for when you go do it. Trust me, you'll be able to hit your opener if you follow some of the next tips I have. So next up is to open light. Your opener should be a weight that you can do at least 3 times on any day. Let's say it's somebody wakes you up at 1 a.m. and you're tired. Your opener, you should be able to hit that at 1 a.m. when you're tired. You should be able to hit your opener whenever. This is because you don't want to psych yourself out, and you do not want to bomb out on your first meet. Bombing out would mean not getting at least 1 attempt in each lift. If you miss all 3 squats or all 3 deadlifts or all 3 bench, you don't get a total, and that's really a bummer for your first meet. So you definitely want to make all attempts. Just get that first one in. Trust me, it's not bad. You can always make a decent jump for the second attempt and the third attempt if you feel fit, but just keep that first attempt low. You will not regret it. The last thing is just to trust yourself and trust your training. So you've put in all the work. It's the day of the meet. Don't worry about, you know, other little things, you know, what I could have done. Just, you know, be in that moment. Don't get nervous, and realize people aren't that focused on you. There's a lot of different people there. Even if there is an audience, most likely there's only like a couple people looking for a specific person. It's probably not you. So don't worry too much about all eyes on you, or, you know, being nervous, or even other lifters focusing on your numbers. Just do what you do. It's, you know, it's all about yourself, and you sort of beating yourself in the first meet. You're not really looking to compete necessarily, or at least I wasn't. It was just for the experience. So now we can talk about my experience. Hopefully that helped. I had a really great time at my first meet. I was fairly happy with how things went. Looking back at the footage and after I did my lifts, I realized I could have definitely went higher on my squat and deadlift. They were pretty low considering how fast they went up. I was surprised my 435 deadlift went up so fast. I've never tried any weight like that. So I really think I could have hit the 1,000-pound club. I think my total was somewhere around mid 900s, I think. So I kept it light because my knee. I promised my parents that I wouldn't squat too heavy so that my knee wouldn't have any more issues that they'd have to pay for or anything like that. So kept my promise, kept my squats light, but I was surprised by the deadlifts. The bench, it sort of got me, you know, hitting that 231, I believe, was super slow, and that was probably one of the longest reps I've ever had on bench, and it took so much out of me that I couldn't get that 237, but I think fresh I could get 237 because I've hit 235 feeling pretty crappy. So the pause was a little more than I thought on the bench. It seemed like forever. It was pretty, I mean, it seems quick on the video, but when you're under the bar, the pause seems like quite a bit. So if you're training for a meet, overemphasize the pause. It'll help you feel comfortable. I lost tightness actually in the bottom of that 231. So that's why it was so hard to push back up. So if you're thinking about doing the meet, I would definitely recommend doing a meet. You know, before I started, and I was paying $50 for that, and the money for the singlet, and I bought the knee sleeves just to make sure my knees were okay and all that. I was like, why am I doing this? I don't really know if I want to do this anymore, but I'm really glad I got the experience, got to do it, and I'm definitely going to do another one. I don't know how soon, probably at least a year. I have a lot of plans for what I want to do between now and then, and you know, a lot of it is more putting on size and less strength based, even though I really want to work on my bench press. So everything I did leading up to the meet, it seemed to work out really well for me. You know, carbing up, taking it easy, you know, taking those 2 days off of training before the meet, not really going heavy at all that last week. you know, just trusting myself, and it seemed like everything went fine. So that's my experience with the meet. Go out, do a meet, have a good time, and I'll see you guys later. Crooked Fit tees out now. Get yours, $20. crookedfit.bigcartel.com. I'll see you guys later. More videos soon. School started, so it's kind of hard this week to put out a video, but more coming. Promise.